Michigan State finishes their road trip out west 2-0, getting a 68-52 win at Oregon, a game that Michigan State truly didn't take control of the game until the last 10 minutes, where Michigan State offensively looked really good, defensively continues to look stout. How are you feeling about this performance, Liam?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably just about the same as most Spartan fans. I mean, it was honestly an eyesore for about the first 30 minutes of the game, and then, like you said,
Yeah.
the last ten started to piece some things together and pull away. So, it wasn't pretty, but you win, you cover, and like you said, you get out of there 2-0 on the West Coast when last year was 0-2. Now, I did just say, I mean, it was the two better teams you played last year, but
Yeah.
it's you don't control the schedule, so you just got to beat the
No.
teams on the schedule, and that's what they did.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where a lot of teams in the Big Ten that go out west, you probably won't be having a lot of them go 2-0 in that schedule. Now, obviously, some of the top teams probably will, but there might be some teams that end up dropping a game out west. Look at Purdue. They end up dropping a game against UCLA. Obviously, UCLA is better than Washington, better than Oregon, but they end up dropping a game against UCLA. They're guaranteed at least a 1-1 record. Michigan State 2-0 obviously really needed to truly do that in order to get there, but isn't this kind of the MSU team we've seen for the last like year and a half, where it truly seems like they kind of I don't want to say struggle, but like for that first like 20 30 minutes, it's like a pretty like even game. Michigan State's a little bit better, and then that last 10 minutes just something clicks and then MSU just dominates for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, the first 4 minutes of yesterday were good. They were off to that good start,
Yeah.
and like you said, it went into a little lull. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone. I was never like really worried about the outcome of the game by any sort of
No.
means. It was just more just like, can we look a bit better in the process? Which again, they ended up doing it, and yeah, I mean, like we've said, now you're 7-1 Big Ten. There's only one undefeated team after you mentioned the Purdue loss, and
Yeah.
it's Nebraska, and you took that L at Nebraska, and you played about what your D game, maybe D plus if you're generous. Now, with that being said, the Big Ten schedule does ramp up here for Michigan
Oh yeah.
State after these final two like tune up games. It's kind of disrespectful to call tune up games in conference, but that's the
It kind of
reality of
is.
that's the reality of Maryland and Rutgers this year. So
Yeah.
then, but anyways, what I was trying to get to is you see a team that again is this was disrespecting the preseason, and now they're 8 games into the Big Ten with a real shot at winning the thing, and it's just a testament to the foundation Izzo's laid and continued to lay, and players like Jaxon Kohler, even though he's been off the last 2 games, Carson Cooper, Jeremy Fears, those guys going out and knowing what to do and doing it.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's been the same way for a year and a half now, and I have no reason to believe they'll stop winning just because
Yeah.
competition gets a little tougher.
Exactly. And like you said, it's just kind of been a different recipe for MSU. I think throughout like the beginning of it, it was a lot of like Jeremy Fears, Jaxon Kohler, I think Carson Cooper, you can put up there as well. But like this was a completely different recipe in this game because I don't think anyone truly had Carson Cooper, Coen Carr, and Trey Fort really kind of leading the offense before Jeremy Fears got going towards the end of the game. Ended up having 14 points, 5 assists. But I specifically remember asking you the question,
Yeah, last
ironically, last
episode.
episode, is that if Trey Fort's ever going to have his game, because I truly never thought he was going to be given the opportunity. This was kind of a little bit of that, though. 9 points, 15 minutes, 4 for 5 from the field, hit some huge shots, was really kind of getting the offense going a little bit, hit a big three as well. Is this kind of the moment where you're like, okay, maybe if Trey Ford can get a little bit more confidence coming off of this game, maybe he can at least contribute a little bit?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've thought Trey Fort had the ability to contribute since I watched Midnight Madness. I mean, some of those shots he saw last night, particularly his second bucket, so his third and fourth points of the game, that hard dribble sides, almost like a hop step sideways mid
Yeah,
range knockdown. I mean, I remember seeing him do that in Midnight Madness, texting my brother. I'm like, dude, Trey Fort's comfortable shooting the ball. And yeah, I mean, for him to see that those go down in the first half, and like you said, they were honestly big shots at the time because you only put up 28 points in the first half as a whole. It was a struggle after, like we've alluded to, those first 4 minutes. So
yeah,
yeah, no, I mean, if nothing else, I think he's earned himself a bit more playing time earlier in like because the last however many games, I can't even put a number on it. He'd been seeing like, well, check in around the 8 minute mark of the first half, spell
yeah,
Tang or Scott for about 2 minutes, and he's coming right off the floor. So I
yeah.
think the fact that he played 15 minutes, 4 or 5 shooting, 9 points, and you see his effort on defense. Like you know he knows obviously the way to play under Izzo is to play D, and I think he played good defense last night. Now he did have that one where he slipped in and followed the 3 point shooter, but I mean it was more just losing his balance. I don't think he was really out of control. So yeah, I mean I think again I wouldn't really call like this like the like highest end Trey Fort game, like, but if he can give you 9, or not even, if he can give you 7, 6, 7 points on a, I did not even mean to do that, 6, 7 points on like a 18 minutes, like going forward, you need him to be playable, basically, is what I'm trying
Yeah.
to get at. You need him and Tang to both be interchangeable, and who's ever on gets the majority of the minutes that night. And that's what happened last night, and I think it would help MSU going forward a lot.
Exactly, and it's one of those situations behind like Divine Ugochukwu, who played 26 minutes in this game, played a little of backup point guard throughout the process as well. Really, besides him defensively, Kurtang and Trey Fort aren't going to be obviously your best defenders. And it's almost to your point of where you're going to say, like, who's going to give the most effort defensively? Obviously, I don't think either of them are ever going to be elite defensively or great defensively. But if they're able to hit shots, that's obviously going to be really important. And you really truly saw Trey Fort being able to do that. And you also saw Izzo going into Kurtang a little bit defensively at a timeout where he basically said that he couldn't guard his 99-year-old mom, which probably something like that has been said several different times, but finally gets kind of caught on camera. But no, I thought Trey Fort looked pretty good. I do think obviously he's not going to be ever like the greatest, like I said, defender. I don't think he's going to be a guy that's going to be like a lockdown kind of guy. But if he isn't like an absolute problem on the defensive side where he's getting beat every single time when he's guarding the ball. I could see him playing 8, 10 minutes. He might need a little bit more help his way, but like if he's going to hit shots, he's going to be able to contribute. And I don't think you can play Divine Ugochukwu 30 plus minutes a game. You're going to need a guy in Trey Fort or Kurtang hitting shots, even though you might sacrifice a little bit of defense, which we all know Izzo rather has great defense than necessarily elite shooting. But it's just kind of where MSU's at this point.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I don't think Ugo Chukwu, as the season unfolds even more, will get 26 minutes a night even really. I at least I don't think Izzo I think Izzo would like a reason to not play Ugo Chukwu 26 minutes. Now if Tang and Fort are both absolute zeros, then Ugo Chukwu's going to play 30, 31. But
Yeah,
I think Izzo would like to mix it up more, and that's on Fort and Tang to force his hand. And
agreed.
yeah, and that's I think where they're at the remainder of the year. And I just think the fluidity of the lineup is so interesting. Like
Yeah.
it just shows again how deep this team is, how comfortable Izzo is going to guys in different scenarios. I mean, Jordan Scott had been playing upwards of 18, 20 minutes every game, and last night he wasn't playing great, picked up 2 early fouls. He only played 9 minutes. It's there's a lot of variation with this team, and I feel like it's unique kind of around the country.
Yeah, no, it's kind of like again the whole idea of just like strength in numbers a little bit. Maybe not exactly to the extent it was last year, because last year you never truly saw anyone get 30 plus minutes besides Jace towards the end of the season. You see Jeremy Fears get 32 minutes. You see Carson Cooper playing 33 minutes in this one. But like even like he can go to multiple guys in certain situations. I do think it can cause some weird lineups in there. I think every once in a while you see a lineup and you're like, it doesn't make very much sense. But like it truly hasn't really hurt them as of this point. I don't know if it will probably maybe in the future, but I think he's trying to get a little bit more of an idea of who can play kind of when it comes February. March, and I think in this type of game, you kind of saw a little bit of Izzo trying to play multiple guys at multiple different positions, multiple minutes as well, because Trey Fort played from the two, and I believe he was in the three at one point as well. They went a little small.
Yeah, no, there was at least a couple minute stretch where they had both Tang and Trey on the court. But yeah, I agree with you. It's just still he's still putting the pieces together, and again, at the end of the day, it's really on the guys if they want to play to
Yeah.
do what he's looking for and to get themselves on the court. So I think you'll start to see the lineup solidify in the next couple weeks when you got the stretch of, you're starting to play the better Big Ten teams with Michigan and Illinois, Wisconsin, UCLA, Purdue. So, but at the end of the day, there's only 12 games left in the regular season, and Michigan State only has 2 losses.
Exactly. And let's talk about obviously like the impact players in this game real quick, because we haven't really touched on Carson Cooper. We haven't really touched on Coen Carr, because like
Yeah,
those two, in my opinion,
yeah,
were by far the best players for the majority of the night. I thought Jeremy Fears, obviously, the way
he
he
turned it on
finished
at
the
the end.
game
Yeah.
definitely was up there. But Coen Carr, career high in threes, 3 for 5 from three, 6 for 9 from the field, 15 points. You saw a little bit of him kind of gain confidence, which I think is huge. And then also Carson Cooper, like in my opinion, outside of like the Duke game that he had, I think this is one of the best performances he's had at MSU. 19 points, career high, 7 rebounds, 8 for 10 from the field. Not only were allowed some of those hook shots, but some of them were mid-range jumpers. And he truly has a ton of confidence. He's a guy that is really great defensively, and it's just been really fun watching his growth. I know a lot of people have been comparing his growth to Matt Casello a little bit, and I actually looked at the stats earlier, and it's kind of pretty scary comparison when it comes to solely stats on kind of the growth that we've seen. But in my opinion, one of the best development stories we've ever seen under Tom Izzo.
Yeah, I mean, Coop is, first off, he's averaging like a sneaky like 10 and 7. Like, I
Yeah,
do
I
not
think it's like
think,
10.3, something like that is what he's
yeah,
averaging.
10.5 now, 10.5,
Okay.
7.2, which, like, I don't think there are a lot of even people that watch Michigan State that if you asked, what does Carson Cooper average? 8 and 5, 8 and 4. Nah, he's average like 10 and 7 is a pretty legitimate stat line if every night in and night out. And then you talked about his mid range, you talked about everything except the 4 blocks too, which
Yeah.
that's I think why you're seeing Coop play 33 minutes at this point, just because you see Izzo's going to trust him. He's a 4-year player. He's a center. He's going to guard the big of the opposing team, and he's going to anchor the paint, and he's not going to let guards get cheeky drives, but he's also not going to leave to go take a guard and leave the big wide open. He's experienced now. He knows how to sit down and be a defensive presence.
Yeah.
And that's like you said, 30 plus minutes. And I think it's going to keep happening unless, obviously there'll be games where he'll get into some foul trouble or something. That's just the nature of being a center. But as we go forward, I don't know why you would expect to see his minutes drastically diminish. I think
No.
his development has been crazy. His touch around the rim is so much better than it used to be. He like you said, he's got the deep midi in his bag, which it's almost like take another step back and shoot the three because the deep midi is the worst shot in basketball. But I'm not
MSU
going to
loves
come.
it though.
I know, and I'm not going to complain if he's making them routinely. So, yeah,
Yeah.
Coop, and then pivoting to Coen. I mean, Coen, you needed that from Coen, and you're going to need that against a better opponent than Oregon. So let's not go too overboard yet. But like, he'll naturally have more confidence from beyond the arc. Making three of them last night, and the way he can just change a game. Talk about defensively. I mean, the athleticism drum doesn't need to be beaten because everyone knows that, but it just shows up on the defensive side of the floor. You see him
Yeah.
skying for rebounds last night more than you have at other points in the season. And yeah, it's just things starting to come together. You just hope you get two of those performances when Kohler goes for a double double and then add another 10, 12 from Jeremy. And I wouldn't say there are nine better teams in the country if State's firing on all cylinders like that.
Exactly, and Cohen had 8 rebounds.
Yeah.
If I would have to guess, that would be real close to a career high for him as well. Like he's a guy that typically has like 2 or 3, maybe 4. Like with his athleticism, he should be a guy that's averaging 6, 7, 8 rebounds in my opinion every single night. And then obviously we talked a little bit. You specifically mentioned Jaxon Kohler, back-to-back poor performances from Jackson. Obviously got in foul trouble really early on in this game. Only played 20 minutes, 5 rebounds, 2 points. At what point for you do you get a little like concerned? Because I think we're far ways away from that.
Yeah, no, I definitely think I don't think we're there yet at all. I mean, it's just two bad games. Maybe you didn't get good sleep out on the West Coast. I'm not worried about Kohler.
No,
Um,
we're
I
gonna
mean, it
need him
was
though coming
a
up.
little strange. Almost the Washington game maybe concerned me more than last night. Because last night, I mean, what he only took like 3 shots or something. So
Yeah,
the Washington game was a little scary just because it seemed like he was completely out of sorts. But last night, I mean, it wasn't his night, and it didn't end up needing to be, and neither did it against Washington. But he had more volume against Washington. I guess that's why I was a
yeah.
little alarmed by it. But no, there's no panic button, not even close. So no.
No, and then obviously this is still like the number one ranked defense according to Ken Palm. I looked earlier today, 53rd when it comes to offense. Like just imagine if MSU gets everyone going offensively. Like gets a good Carr game, gets a good Kohler game, gets a good Cooper game, get a good Fears game, maybe get Kurt Tang, maybe get Trey Fort hitting on all cylinders. This is a team that like is scary defensively, but you can see a little bit here and there where this half court offense can work. You just need a guy like Coen Carr to hit shots. And I think it truly starts with him. And I think obviously I don't want to put a ton of pressure on him, but if he's hitting shots, especially from the outside, that just completely changes MSU offensively, especially when Kohler's getting going, when Jeremy Fears is going downhill. Carson Cooper's always a lob threat. You have Jordan Scott. That one shot Jordan Scott had yesterday from three, maybe one of the ugliest shots I've ever seen in my life. But besides that, can't really complain about how he played.
Yeah, I actually forgot about that one for a second, but
Yeah, off the side of the backboard.
yeah, it wasn't his best game by any
No.
means, and yeah, no, you want to see the offense tick up. I want to find the trend because the just once the tournament rolls around, I think there's like the last X amount of champions. Everybody has like I'm pretty sure it's a top 20 or maybe top 22 defense and top 40 offense according to Ken Palm. So right now you're a little bit outside that threshold where you could win the Natty, which
Yeah.
I mean that obviously isn't the end all be all by any means, but
No.
I mean it's a decent indication, and you do want to be a bit better than 50. What'd you say, 53rd?
Yeah.
So they're up to ninth overall. Yeah, 53rd, first defense. So you just got to keep seeing this thing out, and yeah, get some more Coen. The other thing it does is it makes the zone a lot less usable against Michigan State if Coen can shoot it. And say you
Yeah.
got Ugo in there, and then you got Ugo and Coen that are both willing to let it fly, and Jax is willing to let it fly, and Fears is shooting the three more and more and more. So the zone, the Izzo zone troubles could be a little bit alleviated if, yeah, like you said, you get some more Coen makes and more just higher offensive outputs from him.
Yeah. And like we've said, like the last two games haven't been great for MSU. You figure out ways to go out west to go 2-0, and now you're really headed into home on Saturday against Maryland, looking for hopefully a win there, looking for a win on the road against Rutgers, and then you have Michigan coming in on Friday of next week. So there's still things to improve. I still feel like MSU still hasn't gotten everything going in a single game, but I think just the different ways that MSU has approached this, just different ways that of MSU winning these games, I think is going to put a lot of like excitement into this team. And Jeremy Fears still was great in this game, but have Carson Cooper, Coen Carr, and Kurt Tang be your main scorers isn't necessarily the world's worst thing in the world when you go on the road and get a win by 16 points.
Not at all. Not at all. You just got to keep going.
Exactly. Any last thoughts on this game?
No, not really. I mean, you got, like I said, two tune-ups left. I mean, I think you're going to be at least, I think you're going to be like a 15-point favorite probably against Maryland, maybe a little less, maybe like 13 and probably like 10, maybe like 8 at the rack against Rutgers. But you're going to
Yeah.
be substantial favorites in these next two games. So let's avoid any fluky loss and head into Michigan 19-2, 9-1 in the conference. And that won't need any more hype than just that right there.
Yep. Guaranteed top 10, maybe top 8, top 6, kind of depending on what other teams do. But we'll obviously talk about that when the time comes. But a couple more games for Michigan State. Good win on the road. Good just trip overall out west for Michigan State 2-0, and looking for a little bit more before Michigan comes into town next Friday. But thank you everyone for tuning in. Feel free to leave a like, subscribe, comment, all that kind of stuff. Really appreciate all of your support, and we'll be back for the recap after Maryland.